your kind introduction and for your invitation to be part of this conference. Okay, I would like to just dig into the topic of enhancing embryologist well-being, bridging self-awareness and leadership in the embryology lab. I'm a lab director and a board certified IVF lab director, and I would like to just ask you, did you know that there is health problems and mental health problems among our embryologists, and this is very common. According to the study on 2022, 71% of embryologists reported symptoms of burnout and exhaustion, and 63% reported on cynicism, and 54% respondents reported that they cannot cope with the workload. And regarding to organization characteristics, 79% reported working overtime, 75% found themselves doing double work due to the lack of technology, integrations, and analog recording. And overall, 37% of embryologists kept their laboratories working conditions great and excellent. And this data all show us that we need to work more, and there is something is missing that we need to address here. And on a paper, Morphy et al. 2024, it's mentioned that embryologists had high stress due to occupational challenge and work condition. And then, as you can see, this statistics continue to show us that we need to have the leadership perspective in our lab, and we need to fix this problem. And it's continue to showing up. And how we can fix this problem, it's my recommendation is adding to our lab safety 3 more lab protocols, and these are going to be emotional and psychological lab safety protocol, mental health plan for embryologists and lab director, and then the last one is panic lab plan. And this is very important because when we get so busy and our embryologists cannot handle the workload, we already have a panic lab plan, and then we know how to just arrange the for example per diem, and having someone that takes some of the work load off from our embryologist, then our embryologist can live the daily 5 to 8 hours, and they don't need to work 15 days in a row to handle all of this workload that out of the sudden added to our schedule. And this is very important because a balanced supportive work environment helps embryologists maintain their focus, precision, and health, which is crucial for successful outcome in fertility treatment and in fertility centers. Therefore, how we can avoid a toxic embryology lab environment, which we know that it has an effect on embryology, mental health, and in general health of our embryologists. First thing that we need to know that just turnover is going to cost the center 1.5 to 2 times of embryology annual salary. Therefore, we supposed to avoid this and make sure that our embryologist is going to be happy in our lab and they wanted to stay, because when we train them and in our protocols and they are familiar with our lab system, really is going to be hard to lose them, and it's going to be more burden on other embryologists who works in the lab if we don't have them anymore. And training new embryologists in the system is going to cost us definitely based on this study 1.5 to 2 times. Another topic that we need to add to this, to how we can just change these statistics by having our lab director to learn more about leadership perspective. When we get our degree from our school in PhD and we graduated, we never got any course in leadership. Therefore, when we don't have any course in leadership and we directly come and run the lab, we are not familiar with leadership perspective, which is going to help us if we are become more familiar with the leadership perspective to become better leaders and running the lab in a better leadership principles, and that's going to take some of the issues from lab that we almost heard in all of these statistics that we missing. And one of the things that are going to help us if we have the leadership courses, that micromanagement doesn't help us in the lab. Actually, it's going to cause more stress on our embryologists. Therefore, this stress is going to make them more burnout, and it could have more issues for mental health on our embryologists. And plus, when they have a lot of stress based on the neuroscience studies, there is a possibility that their attention span going to be shorter, and then that is going to be catastrophic for our embryology lab, because as embryologists, we're supposed to have all our focus and attention on the task that we are doing, and the shorter attention span is going to be very dangerous, and there is a possibility of making error, which is we need to avoid that in all the way, and that is something that the leadership courses and perspective is going to help us that to avoid all of these burden on our embryologists, and then to help us to understand how to run our lab efficiently. And then life-work balance is another important thing that is going to help embryologists to just have their really least stress in the lab, and they're working in a regular hours instead of they're working on the long hours, which is going to make them very tired. And when they are tired, the attention span again is going to be less, and they're going to switch to the autopilot, which is we're not really looking for that, because when they just switch to the auto pilot mode, that is going to make them to make more mistake, because their attention span is going to be shorter, and the focus on the job is going to be less, and that is something that we're supposed to avoid as much as possible. Therefore, we need to have a psychological and emotional safety lab protocol, which is that is going to be key to happy and efficient embryology lab. And what does it mean, psychological safety lab protocol? It means that we have a protocol that helps us to have a very safe lab, that people can just come front and ask the questions and tell us their concern. And this is going to create positive work environment, and people going to be more involved in the decision making of the lab, and then that is helping them to tell us if there is something not right. There is extra stressors in our lab that we haven't seen it as a lab director. Your lab embryologists are going to be the best people to talk about the stressors that they have in the lab, other than working with the oocytes, blastocysts, sperms, and the procedure like ICSI, biopsy, transfer, and all of those already have their own stress, and being always attentive to make sure that all of these procedure going to be done in the best way possible. All of that is going to be very hard and very stressful for some for embryologists. Then we need to make sure that we don't add any extra stress to that perspective of work. And then make your lab more learner lab, learner safety embryology lab. And this makes people happier because all of us as a human being, we wanted to learn more, and we wanted to have some achievement in our workplace, in our life, to make sure that we learn something new. And all of these psychological lab safety protocol going to help you to facilitate your lab to become a better and efficient lab. And another one is emotional safety lab protocol, which is that is going to help you to have a social connection between your embryologists. That is helping embryologists to help each other, train each other, and instead of making those competitions that is sometimes we call it bad competitions over the KPI, key performance indicator, who had the highest fertilization rate, who has a highest embryo blastocyst rate. And those are not going to be helpful in your lab, and those are going to make a bad competition among your embryologists. And they're, instead of they become united, you're going to separate them and make them compete to each other. And that is not going to be in your favor in your lab. This is not marathon. That we work together, and this is the teamwork. We supposed to have a key performance indicator for whole team. And if there is something not right and lower than usual, you're supposed to take that person in a very private way, talk and see what is the reason that for that person, that key performance indicator is lower, how you can help that person to become better. Do you have any plan for that person to become better? And then you need to recognize their effort, and then you have to promote diversity in your lab. Not all of the lab members going to be the same, to have a same lifestyle. You have to understand them that they're going to have different lifestyle, they're going to have different personality, and there's some of them going to be more sensitive than the others. And how you going to talk to them, how you going to talk to them in front of the other people. Our embryologists demand for the better leadership in our labs, and we have to listen to them, and we have to make that happen by taking these leadership courses. And another thing that here I would like to just emphasize, that you don't need to get the leadership courses that is going to be lab perspective, lab related. You can get any just courses out there, that there are lots of leadership courses out there and books that you can read that is not necessarily related to the lab your embryology lab. You can have that course, and they're going to be very helpful, which has helped me a lot when I got those courses. And just give you some perspective about yourself and self-awareness as well, because we need to have an emotional intelligence as a lab director. And that is something that I really recommend for everybody, to have a self-awareness. Know your weak point? What is your weak point? And be honest with yourself. If you see the weak point, be honest with yourself, and then try your best to fix it. Have a plan that how you're going to fix it and what is your goal to fix this. And then have the key performance indicator for that and how close you are to fix that issue. And if your lab people see that you are constantly improve yourself, they're going to trust you more and you're going to be the role model for them. And that is something that leadership is. We need to understand that we need to know better ourselves and what is our personal value, emotional and psychological issues that we bring into the lab, and be the humble leader to make sure that if that is something that your lab is going to have a stress because of that personality behavior that you have, then you can change it to become a better person and work yourself and be more compassionate to your team and understand their effort and their challenge in their personal life in the lab and try to navigate them to become a better person in their life and their lab, because all of this interconnected. And this slide, I would like to emphasize on burnout symptoms. If you see the burnout symptoms in your lab, that is too late, and you cannot do anything anymore. Before you see the burnout symptoms, you have to stop it. You have to have a plan, and that is comes to the third lab safety protocol that I just told you, panic lab plan. When you have a panic lab plan, you're going to have in writing that what you're going to do when you have a lot of cases that your embryology cannot handle. That is going to be overload of the work for them. And that is could be the hiring the per diem, and to make sure that per diem came earlier than the time that you have the higher load work, and then that person is trained completely on your protocols, everything, and then you can be comfortable that person work and your lab people can live in 5 to 8 hours after work. Why I said 5 hours? Because the embryology lab has a lot of stress and tension. It's not that the job that is going to be 8 hours, 9 to 5 job. No, sometimes the stress is so high that it's better embryologists leave the work earlier in 5 hours, and then they're going to have whatever they like to do after work and make their mind release and relax, and then they can come the day after, become more efficient. They have better attention span and better just efficiency to work in the day after, because constantly putting our body into this high stress is not good for us physically, mentally, and psychologically. Our body cannot handle that. Therefore, if your embryologist constantly working under very high workload, very high stress, they cannot handle this. And then that is why they wanted to have just the work that is going to be very normal, but it's same as the other jobs, that the stress, they can handle that stress because they can see that in their life they are under this stress for whole day, and they become more cynicisms, they have the eating problem disorders, anxiety, and of course decrease of concentrations. The fatigue is always there with them, and these are symptoms that for the burnout. And if we have these symptoms, it means that we went too far and we need to seek for the support and help. If you ask these questions that I have on these slides, and all of the answer is yes, then really you need to seek the support. And one of the my suggestions is most of the fertility center need to have the mental health department, and anonymously annually they have to send these surveys and ask for um, what is the extra stressors they have in their lab that the embryologists are not happy for, and then how we can change it. Ask your embryologist for the solution. They are the best person that they can give you the solution how you can reduce and just make your lab less stressful for them, because these extra stresses you can then eliminate them when you pay attention to them, and when you know that there is the extra stress other than the work in the embryology lab exists, and you need to work on that. And then you need to have a key factor indicator that to make sure that, okay, if you have this stress, what is your plan to reduce it, and how far you are to reduce that? It takes 2 months, 3 months, 1 month. If you change something in your lab, and what is that going to be? And your embryologist is the best person to show you that. And as a true leader, lab director, our job is reduce these stressors, and we need to see that stressor. And only way that you can see that stressors by the surveys that anonymously you ask your embryologist to fill, and even you can ask them to fill these surveys about yourself, and you can see how they see you. And please don't take these answers as a personal, because that then you cannot work on yourself to become better person to run your lab. Just see that, okay, you need to work on yourself based on what the embryologist told you in the lab, that they want that perspective change, and then you work on yourself, and that is showing them that you are a true leader, and they're going to follow you, they're going to trust you. And that is what that we can do for our people that working so hard in our lab, and they are the backbone of every fertility center. Then we show them that we care about them. As long as they see that you care about them, they're going to follow you, and then they're going to accept you as a leader. Then they expect you to just make fight for them, and make the lab so much happier and healthier place to work for 5 to 8 hours. One other recommendation that I have for the fertility centers, that consider to reimburse the gym membership for your embryologists, and encourage them to participate that, because when the study said that when they just exercise for 7 minutes, even 7 minutes, is going to help them to have less mental issues, and as bring their stress level lower, the cortisol level lower, by just 7 minutes of cardio. Therefore, please be more into the exercising of your team, and encourage them by reimbursement of their gym. And that's going to help you to have a better lab with the least problem and least error, and you're going to avoid error indirectly in your lab. And then the last thing that I would like to add here, that make sure that you make your lab more digitalized. Now we are living in a digitalized era. We can use that in our favor to make our lab more just using AI instead of using embryologists to enter, for example, the data. and you can just have a time-lapse incubator. You don't need to do the assessment. You ask your embryologist to come 7 a.m. or even earlier to check your fertilization. And even some weekends, they don't need to come to the lab. They can check the embryo development at their home and then just fill the report. All of this going to work really well for 2-3 hours time saving for your embryologist, instead of those jobs that AI can do it as fast as possible and so much better than us. It's better we give those jobs to AI and invest in our lab to be more digitalized. And in this era that is just everything is very available for our lab to just make our lab more digitalized than the 20 years ago. And by saying that, I'm going to finish my presentations, and thank you for your attention. I'm going to answer all of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Visa, for the presentation. Well said, and it was a nice informative presentation there. As I wait for the questions, right, I see one. Have your lab tried measuring staff satisfaction and well-being through surveys? And if so, how have you used that data?
Yes, we ask our lab people to fill the surveys, and then we have some grade for each questions, and based on the grades that we're going to add together, and then we're going to be sure that where we stand in our lab based on, for example, if all of those questions they just answer yes or no, it has a different grades. And if we are know that where we stand, and based on that we're going to make a decision for lab. And plus, when we ask anonymously from people to fill those surveys, we are going to have a better understanding that what the problem and stressors we have in our lab that we need to eliminate to make sure that our lab is going to be more aligned with the leadership perspective, and supporting them through the procedure that we have. And those procedure has a very high stress level, and that's going to be only a stress that we're going to just convey on them.
Interesting. I'm waiting for more questions. I hope the answer is satisfactory.
Sorry?
I mean, I'm just asking the one who asked the question if the answer is satisfactory. In case I'm waiting for more questions. Now, there's one more question that I see as, what specific challenges do embryologists face that you believe significantly impact their well-being?
Yes, the workload. Then when they have to stay longer, because we cannot leave anything that day for the another day. We have to finish the whole workload and leave the lab. And then long hours of working, that is going to be really hard for embryologists and make them burn out. And we're supposed to make sure that before we get there, we have a solution for that. And we're going to hire another per diems and make sure that those are not going to be burden on our embryologists, that they're working already hard. And if they don't have the weekends off, for example, because we have short staff in our lab, or when we have a lot of cases that we cannot handle by 2-3 embryologists, then that is going to be something that we need to address. And these are all going to be the reason of burnout in our lab. Plus, there sometimes some lab has the other stressors like micromanagement, and then there is no leadership in our lab, their labs, and then this is something that going to add to the stress and the wrong bad competition between among embryologists over the key performance indicators. That is going to be another thing that could make embryologists more tired and exhausted.
Well, about stress, what advice would you give to new embryologists about managing stress and maintaining well-being in their careers?
Yes, that is a very good question. First of all, a lot of short breaks between the big task that you have that needs all of your attentions. And that is could be the between ICSIs or biopsy or between the patients. When you finish one patient and don't start the next one right away, go and get some short break, get some air and walk, and then come back to do that one. That's going to help you to make your mind release from the previous stress that you had, and then you become more relaxed. And sometimes some of the relaxation methods, like a meditations, breathing, and all of those going to help some embryologists to release their mind from previous stress, and then they can just have their own mind on the next level of the stress that they're going to start, which is going to be the next task that they're going to do in the lab, like ICSI biopsy. And always I ask our embryologists, please go and have some short break, go and take some air, because that is going to be very useful, that not to switch to the auto mode, because that is going to be very dangerous, and it's going to make more mistake. Is going to have a potential to make embryologists to make more mistakes.
So, like, what long-term benefits have you observed in the embryologist labs that prioritize the well-being of their staff?
Yes, and your embryologist is going to stay with you. They're not going to leave you. That is going to save 1.5 to 2 times salary of embryologist for you. That is a beneficial, and plus you're going to have the best embryologists that you train in your system stay with you, and they're going to be happier and healthier. And that is the goal of the lab director. That is another, I think, the success rate that we're supposed to consider in our lab, other than a pregnancy rate for our patients. Because when the people are going to be happy, healthy, they're going to have better attention, concentration to work, and your lab is going to be successful in direct way, because they're going to put more into the work that they do. They pay attention to the details, and then you're going to have a better functional lab that is going to cause all together as a lab teamwork to give you the just a pregnancy rate and success rate that you want. And all of these are interconnected to each other, and it will be like a chain. If one chain is going to fall off, then that's not your success rate is going to go down, because of, unfortunately, there is a possibility that when the attention span going to be shorter for embryologists, the error percentage is going to be higher, and that is going to be catastrophic for the embryology lab.
Interesting. Well, this is the last question that I would like to take, and other questions I request to directly email for more discussions. The last one that I see is going to be: have you tried conducting the walk and talk meetings to promote physical activity and mental clarity during discussions?
Unfortunately, we cannot do the walk talk procedure because we have to sit on behind the microscope, and then sometimes are the procedure, which is we call it nano-surgery, same as a procedure. It's going to take 1 hour, sometimes half an hour to 15 minutes. It depends on the patients, and then that's something that the best way to get our mind off and become more relaxed is they take more short breaks and take some air, because usually embryology lab is going to be just closed lab, and then we need to sometimes go and get some oxygen, some air. Then we're going to be more relaxed and walk in the outside, and then they come back and start the next task, which is could be the stressful or have a lot of eggs, and it's going to take longer. And that is the way that is going to help us. And then the best way that it works for me actually then is exercising after my day is finished, and to release all of those stress when I go to gym. That's going to help me a lot for making me ready to start another stressful day after when I just go to gym. Is going to be very helpful for me, and it usually is help me a lot to handle the day that I had was very stressful.